Ok, muy bien. Voy a grabar. Bienvenidos, bienvenidos. ¿Cómo están ustedes? ¿Cómo están? ¿Bien?
Bien, estoy
¿Bien?
bien.
Bien, magnífico. Bueno, ok. Tengo mi vacuna hoy. I've got my vaccine today. You may see your email follow-up a little bit later, unless I am really successful getting logged off and getting everything typed up super, super fast, because I gotta hike it down to Mesa to get my vaccine, like right away after I'm done with class. So if you don't see everything right away, or you might just see, I may just try to get everything out because I don't know if I'm going to feel crummy after I'm done or not. So, I'm going to try to get everything typed up. Okay. A ver, bueno, muy bien. Vamos a practicar con muchísimas cosas. Son difíciles. They're kind of hard today. But we've only got 2 more classes, hoy y la semana que viene, and the week that is coming up. So I am trying to get in the absolute core essentials in. That does not mean that you should hesitate to ask a question if you need to stop and have me clarify something. But para que sepan, so you know, what we got scheduled for today is kind of a review to see that you understand the concept and you can do some basic things with adjectives. Okay, so we'll have maybe, I want to say maybe 20 minutes, 20 minutos más o menos, about 20 minutes with adjectives just to check that you know it. Adjectives are something where you just build up more and more vocabulary as you go along. It's a gradual thing. You pick up more and more. And it is something that English speakers always struggle with a little bit. But as long as you get the basic word and you're working on the form, that is okay. What I need to confirm today is that you understand how to change basic forms of adjectives to describe things in a logical way, and to confirm and clear up if there are any problems with that. Then we're going to launch straight into verbs, verbs, verbs. And verbs is the, oh my God, this is the thing that really scares the bejesus out of people, verbs, because, English has so few forms with verbs. Walk, walks, cook, cooks, ride, rides. That's it. But you have all these forms you've got to learn with Spanish. But there are some logical ways that will help you to get used to that. And again, little by little, people do need to practice the verb skill for a long time to get good. So don't think you're going to look at it and be like super great immediately. If you are, well, thumbs up. Then, if your first language was something that had multiple verb forms, it will conceptually be an easier thing to pick up. So people who typically grew up speaking something like, Italian, French, even German, really understand that concept of learning verb forms much more easily than we in English do. Okay, vamos a empezar. I'm going to start with this screen share because I believe I sent this website out to you. This is just my check to see that you guys know and understand the basic idea with adjetivos, adjectives, words that describe other things. ¿Reconocen ustedes? Do you recognize this one? Sí?
Sí.
Okay.
Sí.
¿Tienen preguntas? Do you have any questions about what was seen on this page? This is a real, this is the easiest level of practice.
I liked it.
Yeah, see? Okay, fácil, easy? Do you have any questions on anything here about, wait a minute, I don't know why that word was what it was, and gee, that's confusing. I do want you to notice that often the adjective follows the thing it describes. And I say often because that's not a 100% thing. So hay una pluma roja. There's a red pen encima de la mesa that tells where on top of the table. La chica alta está en la casa. The tall girl is at home. Oh, la chica alta, the girl tall. That's the way they do it. Hay 3 libros pequeños en la bolsa. There are 3 small books in the purse. But then we get to this little puppy here. Hay pocos chicos en la clase. And pocos lines up with chicos, just like pequeños lined up with libros. But pocos comes in front of chicos. I just want you to know that the instances where a describing word comes in front of the noun are when they talk about quantity.
Oh,
In general. So if a describing word is like a few, like this word, a few kids, there are a few kids. That's what that says. Hay pocos chicos. There are a few boys. There are a few kids. If it says a few, a lot, many, or actual numbers, that will come in front of the noun. Okay. And there are a few others that come in front of nouns, but usually they follow. So here's the rule of thumb, the easy rule of thumb. If an adjective paints a picture in your head of what that thing looks like, it will follow the noun. If it just talks about an amount, it will come in front of the noun. There are other exceptions to that rule. Okay, you don't need to know them now. They're not essential for communication to be understood. Okay, here's another amount thing, mucho. Hay muchas chicas en la clase. Hoy es un día bonito. Today is a pretty day. And it's got to be bonito because día, even though it ends in an a, is a masculine word. Okay, so that was a little tricky. Él es un hombre guapo. He is a handsome man. Ella tiene pelo negro. She has black hair and hair, pelo. Yeah, she is not what determines that word negro. Pelo, the hair itself, because the black is describing the hair. Okay. Él tiene pelo rubio. He has blonde hair. Muchas personas simpáticas viven en Latinoamérica. Many nice people. Okay. And then we had, these I think were easier because you had a 50-50 shot, right? So I'm just going to go through that. Ooh, the popular girl, la chica popular. That boy is my cousin. Oh, and that had that word. That wasn't very helpful. Okay. Ese chico joven es mi primo. Joveno is not even a word. That young girl is my niece. Aquella chica joven es mi sobrina. And these words, really, you didn't have like aquel and aquella, so don't worry about those. Okay, we're going to kind of zoom through that. Let's just see if we can do some plurals. Let's make these, and I'll give you the link to this site so that you can go over it again and kind of quiz yourself. We're going to go next step up, which is just to let's spot check some general ideas. We're going to take it from a singular form and make everything plural and see that we can make everything fit all the way through. El doctor alemán.
los doctores alemanes.
Los doctores
Doctores.
alemanes. And that accent mark disappears. That's not important for you to know now. Don't get hung up on the accent mark thing, right? Los doctores alemanes. We tack an ES on the end of alemanes. Un plan difícil becomes
Unos planes difíciles.
difíciles. Okay, difíciles. That is an adjective that ends in not an O. So all I do is tag an ES onto the end of it. Difícil is the same for masculine and feminine. Okay. Adjectives that do not end in O, like difícil does not end in O, will be the same form for feminine, same form for masculine. So to make them plural, I just add the S or the ES depending on that last letter in the adjective. La mujer triste. Triste is sad. Okay, la mujer triste. To make this plural, it becomes
Los mujeres
las mujeres
tristes.
tristes. Triste ends in an E, so to make it more than one, I just tag an S on the end. Tristes, okay? Vale? El chico inglés, the English kid becomes the English kids. Los
Chicos ingleses.
ingleses. And the accent goes away. Don't worry about that. No es importante ahora. That's not important now. Okay? La nación grande, the big country or a nation. Nación, nation, technically.
Las naciones grandes.
Las naciones grandes. Las naciones, and the accent mark goes away. Grandes. Okay. And grande just needs an S idea slapped onto the end. Okay. Un día malo becomes
Unos
días
Malos.
malos. Okay, magnífico. Una ciudad fea, an ugly city. Oh, yay. Unas
ciudades
ciudades
feas.
Yes, we're just making it plural. We're not worrying about, notice, we're not worrying about switching from masculine to feminine in this. We're just going from onesies to multiple, onesies to multiples, okay? That's why this is an easier step. El pez azul. Pez is a living fish swimming, not dead on your plate. Okay.
Los peces azules.
Peces azules. And azules has to end in add an ES, okay? Because it ends in an L, an L, okay? Azules. And azul is the same for masculine, same for feminine. We just make it ES, okay? Bien? Vale,
Yeah.
magnífico. Okay.
Excuse
A
me.
ver, pregunta. Sí, pregunta.
What is, I've seen medical and doctora used pretty much in the same. What's the difference?
Okay. No hay mucha diferencia. There's not a lot of difference, but I will show you real quickly. One can be used as a form of address and the other one cannot. So here's the important thing to know about that. Okay, all right. Here we go. Médico is pretty much an equivalent for doctor, but we can use doctor as a title of address. So we can say something like el doctor Garcia, but you can't say el médico Garcia. So we can use doctor like you would use Mr. or professor or, you know, a title to address someone by. But you cannot do that with the word médico. You would not say el médico Garcia. You could say el médico se llama Garcia. The doctor is called, you know, and give his name, but you can't use it as a means of address. Or you talk directly to Dr. Garcia, you know, you can talk to him. Hola, Dr. Garcia. Bien? So you can do that. So that's the difference.
Okay.
No es muy difícil, not really hard. So we use it like we use señor, señorita, señora. We use it like that. Okay. A ver. Bien. Pregunta, do you have a question so far on this whole adjective thing yet?
No.
Okay, vale. Let's bump it up to something a little harder where we have to think about gender, not think about just the number, but the number and the gender. Mochila is a backpack. Mochila is a backpack. And I've got to remember here if this site wants me to type just the word or the sentence. I guess we'll find out. We want to say my backpack is black and white. What do we have to do with that word negro?
Negra.
And blanca.
Is negra y blanca. Sí, okay, it only wants me to change the one word. Pueden ver, can you see this or do I need to make it bigger?
No,
No, okay, no,
we just see the faces.
okay. Bien, bien, okay. So, mi mochila es negra y blanca, right? Mochila is feminine, so this needs to become negra. Okay.
We can't see it at all, Marilyn. We can't see it at
perdón.
all.
You can't see it at all, perdón.
No,
Because I have the wrong screen on. Okay. Mejor, better?
better.
Mhm.
Gracias, thank you. Okay. It was too much. Una cosita. Okay. Son árboles. They are green trees.
Verde. Oh, verdes.
Verdes.
There it is.
Verdes because árboles is, a plural thing. Okay. A ver. El libro es,
Interesantes.
would that be plural? What are we talking about? Libro or libro? Now, we're not saying change everything to plural. Like the last
Okay.
thing. The exercise here is different. We're looking just at the thing they're talking about. We're not necessarily making everything plural.
It's correct as is.
It's correct as is. El libro es interesante. So the instructions here are different from what we just did. We're not saying move from singular to plural. We're saying look at the noun as it is. And change we need to look at this adjective. This is a tough one, guys. Encantador means enchanting. And this is kind of an odd example. Maria es una mujer. Maria is an enchanting woman, is what this says. Encantador is a little bit different because anything that ends in dor needs to make it feminine. You learned that words like azul and verde are the same for masculine and feminine. This is an odd example. Things that end in dor do need to go into feminine. So this becomes encantadora. This is an odd example. You have not had this rule. Anything that ends in dor does go feminine. There aren't that many words that do it, so don't fret over it. Here we go. Caro, expensive. Now we're looking at the word tienda. We're not making it plural. We're just looking at, this is tienda. Feminine, it's the one thing. Esta tienda means this store. Esta tienda es
Cara.
cara. This store is expensive. Okay, vale. ¿Te gustan los vinos? Do you like wines that are red?
Rojos.
Rojos. Rojos. ¿Te gustan los vinos rojos? Do you like red wines? And you really haven't had the te gustan yet. That's something yet to be done. So, okay. Mis exámenes son, my tests are hard. Mis exámenes son
Difíciles.
difíciles. Bien, okay. Las camisas son
Azules.
Azules.
azules. We do need to make this plural. Bien, fantástico. Okay. Es un chico.
It's correct. It is.
Correct.
It's
Okay.
correct the way to joven. He's
Okay.
a young boy. Joven means young.
Okay.
So joven is the same for a gal, same for a girl. Es una chica joven would be the same. Joven is in an N. We only make it plural if we have a multiple group, but here we've got just onesies. Hay demasiados programas. There are too many. Demasiados means too many. Ooh, it's a quantity.
Violentos.
Hay demasiados programas
Violentos.
Violentos.
violentos en la televisión. Violentos looks at programas. Programas is a masculine word. It's a trick word. Those ma words are trick words. Problema is el problema. Programa is el programa. Sistema is el sistema. It's a thing that came from Greek. Don't ask me why. I don't know why. I know that it comes from Greek and it's masculine. Okay, here we go. Las niñas son feliz, happy.
Felices.
Felices. Felices. Las niñas son felices. Feliz ends in a Z, a Z. Same for a guy or gal. Feliz, feliz, but plural. Felices and Z to C. But the sound is the same. So it doesn't matter if you misspell it. La película es
Popular.
popular. Película means movie. La película es popular. Popular ends in an R. It's the same for masculine, same for feminine. Okay. A ver. Prefieres, do you prefer? Prefieres un clima, a climate. And notice it says un clima, not una clima.
Cálido.
Un
Oh,
Frío.
cálido.
Cálido.
Cálido, warm or cold. Warm or cold. Cálido, it's in the right form. Clima is another one of those ma words. It looks like it's feminine, but it's not. Okay. Tienes los zapatos. Do you have shoes? Do you have red shoes? Tienes los zapatos?
Rojos.
Rojos. Okay, vale, that's a straightforward one. Bien, okay. Tengo el cabello. Cabello means like your whole head of hair, the whole thing. Yeah,
Correct.
okay. Tengo el cabello. Correcto, es correcto. Rubio, 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 rubio. Okay. Es un hombre. He's an optim. Ooh, this is a hard one.
Stays the same.
Stays the same. Optimista. Optimista. Okay. A short word about ista, because ista is kind of a common suffix, as it is in English. Okay. Ista is usually just ista. Boom. That's it. Stays the same. You do make it plural, but you know. Okay. Agradable means kind, pleasant.
Agradable.
Amigas son agradables. Agradables. Bien, 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 bien. Okay, vale. Me gustan los pasteles. Oh, pasteles are pastries. Me gustan means I like. Me gustan los pasteles.
Dulces.
Dulces. Dulces. We just make it plural. Magnífico. Okay. Tengo los ojos brown. This is the word for brown eyes. Tengo los ojos
Castaños.
castaños. We're talking about ojos. It doesn't matter who the eyes belong to. The word ojos is masculine, so castaños, brown. This is one of those specific words for brown. Remember, we're talking about people that fight over the word marrón or café. This word castaño is often used for brown when you're talking about eyes. Castaño is more like chestnut brown. It's kind of one of those shades of brown words. Okay, ¿cuál es tu libro?
Correct.
Favorito.
Correcto, favorito. Favorito. ¿Cuál es tu libro favorito? Fácil.
Favorito.
And the question would be translated as, what is your favorite book? Even though it says, which one is your favorite book? There's a thing in Spanish between using cuál and que. You don't need to worry about it yet. Okay. ¿Eres una amiga? Sincera. You are a sincere, a true friend. Una amiga sincera. Sincera would mean an honest, a sincere, an upfront kind of person. Okay. Raro can mean rare. Here it would mean rare. Often it means weird, strange. But vi means I saw in the past. Vi unos pájaros
Raros.
raros. Raros en Venezuela. I saw some rare birds. Here it would mean rare. Raro is often weird, like es un tipo muy raro. He's a really weird guy, yeah. Juan está
Triste.
triste hoy. He is sad. Triste ends in an S, so it's the same for triste, una mujer triste, un hombre triste, same. We only worry about the plural for that. Agresivo, aggressive. Algunos perros, some dogs, algunos perros son
Agresivos.
agresivos, agresivos, agresivos. Muy bien. Ok. La comida de México, la comida de México es
Rica.
rica. Rica is talking about comida, the food. Rico or rica can mean rich. It can also mean, in this instance, delicious. It's a synonym for delicioso. Okay. La comida de México es rica. Sara used to live. This is a used to live verb. En una casa
Pequeña.
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 Cuando era niña.
Cuando era niña. And these verbs are in the past. Sara used to live in a small house when she was a little, when she was a little girl. Okay, a ver. Cuatro más, 4 more, and then we're going to move on. ¿Dónde están las tiendas? Barato, cheap, inexpensive. ¿Dónde están las tiendas?
Baratas.
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 Baratas, baratas, the inexpensive stores, not the Nordstroms of the world. Okay, mis abuelos son
Viejos. Viejos.
viejos. My grandparents are old. Son viejos. El alemán es un idioma. German is a
Correct.
Difícil.
correct.
Difícil.
Es difícil. Right. Difícil, says difícil no matter what.
Alemán.
Right. Alemán is German. Es un idioma, but difícil is really looking at idioma. Idioma. And this is one of those ma words that's masculine. Yeah, idioma means language. We have the word idiom in English, which refers to like a turn of phrase. You know, an idiom is something you don't translate word for word. Idioma in Spanish means a language. It's one of the 2 words for language. Okay, sus primos son
Interesante.
interesantes. Bien, bien. Okay, vale. Bueno, ¿tienen preguntas? Do you have any questions on how that rolls? I'm going to send that off to you in the email so that you can go back in. It will take the same 40 questions, but we haven't done 10, and it will mix them up, put them in a different order the next time around.
Oh,
So you wouldn't see them in the exact same order. Not that you would remember what was number 26. Are you one of those people who can do that? No puedo. I cannot. I don't have that kind of memory at all. Ok, vale. Bueno, hay preguntas sobre adjetivos. And again, this will come more and more with practice. But if you have a question, ask it now. There are a few odd things with adjectives. So I'm going to show you, before we completely leave, a couple of quick things. We're going to go back to our Dr. Garcia thing here. Oop, we're going to move this. There are a couple of little things about adjectives you should know, but they are not like game changers at this stage where you guys are. You know, most of the time when we're talking about adjectives, we want to describe something that we are searching for, a color of something we want, a size of something we want. But as you start to expand your vocabulary, you of course learn more and more adjectives. Now, the nice thing is there are a whole lot of words we call cognates, words that sound like what something in English and mean pretty close to the same thing. That's because of our sharing words with Latin roots. But once in a while, you come up with a couple of odd rules. And one of the rules you saw was that DOR thing. So I'm going to show you a couple of examples of these DOR examples. Hablador would mean somebody who's talkative. Mile a minute talker. Okay. Things that end in DOR, you have the example of encantador, enchanting. Hablador. Here's another one. Trabajador, somebody who is hardworking, somebody who yaks all the time, somebody who is just mesmerizing, delightful, and trabajador, hardworking, okay? And those are DOR. DORs do go into a feminine form, so they're not like azul or difícil. Okay, they do go into a feminine form. So it would be habladora for a lady, encantadora, trabajadora. Okay, so there's one little thing. There aren't that many words that do that. Here are words, however, that you sometimes have to pay attention to. Nationality words that do not end in O kind of fall into a special category, like the hablador, encantador, trabajador words. So, and sadly, there are a lot of words that fall into this category. Inglés, francés, español, alemán being the biggest violators in the group. So, these are pretty common nationality words that where we live, where our ancestors came from, we wind up seeing and using a lot. English, French, Spanish, German. There are others. A nationality that does not end in O. So these are not words like Mexicano, Chileno, Argentino, Colombiano, Venezolano, Italiano. These do not end in O. These, unlike azul, unlike difícil, unlike importante, they do need a feminine form. So the good news is they're not hard to put into feminine form. Inglés becomes inglesa, francés becomes francesa, español becomes española, and alemán, you can guess, becomes alemana. Okay, so what you need to know is that, the masculine plural form will add the ES. Ingleses, franceses, españoles, alemanes, and then you'll have a feminine plural form. So, inglesas. So, this is not too far from what you've been doing. It's just that you have to kind of keep in mind that nationalities that end in something that's not O do need, or that end in a consonant like this. That end in a consonant, yeah, do need a feminine form, okay? There are other oddball, what about this one? Estadounidense, this word that nobody likes, estadounidense, for a US person. That does not go into a feminine form. Oh, yeah. So what I'm telling you is you're going to see things that will break the mold, like these odd things that just go into a plural, but these that do need a feminine. So don't get too hung up on it. It's just kind of like a nationality thing, but it doesn't really affect things that describe what something looks like. You know, those stay with the kind of rules that you've learned. Okay. Preguntas, any questions or no? Okay. I want to start into kind of the meaty thing, verbs, because we've only got this class and the next. Verbs is a vast subject. Students traditionally, when they are teenagers, do not like this at all. And I start to get comments like, well, that's a stupid rule. And, you know, but I'm so sorry people don't communicate the way you want them to, Mr. 15-year-old or Miss 15-year-old. Yeah, the gal with an attitude. And okay, verbs are odd things in Spanish, in French, in German, in lots of languages, because we in English, and people say, oh, English does not have verb conjugations, and that's not true. That isn't true, but we have many fewer verb conjugations than other languages do. That part is true. So what they tried to show you, and you may want to take a quick look at this book. I'm going to show you where they start this topic, so you can kind of just leaf through and open it up. We are only going to be able to do a really cursory introduction. I'm trying to find my Ar verb thing here. Okay. Sí, en la página 97, 97. We're going to hit real hard on what they call Ar verbs. And I'm going to show you a little bit what it means for a verb to be an infinitive, what it means to be in a certain category of infinitive, and then just how we use these verbs. So this page, en la página 97, they show you a little chart at the bottom, and I'm going to show you charts as well. These charts are like a real mental thing that it super helps to have in your brain. And I'm going to share with you because I had pushed out what this video looked like. This chart that you see, if you study more or practice more with Spanish, you would see forever, because this is the way, this is the traditional way to organize this. Okay. This organizes the way we conjugate Ar verbs. All right. And if you think of them in this grid fashion, it makes it easier to align your brain with the idea of what forms a verb will go into when we use them. Okay, so I'm going to take this off for a moment because things start to kind of meld here.
When I was going through Duolingo, that chart wasn't in my brain yet, and I was so confused. And when I cross-referenced it with the book, very helpful.
Yes. The bad thing about Duolingo is that they give you very few handles to hold on to help you figure out how do I use this correctly. Okay. There is a philosophy, by the way, that you should never teach verb conjugations, just let people learn by examples, which is great if you live in it 24/7 and you hear about 50 examples every single hour for about 8 hours a day for about 6 months. So, yeah. So much for that. Okay, here's what you need to know. All verbs come from what is called an infinitive, even in English. All of our infinitives in English are 2-word combos. To eat, to drink, to ride, to work, to rest, to listen, to hear, to see. Everything gets a 2. But you can't say, I'm to walk to the store now. So when we conjugate a verb, we take away what little word? We take away the word to. Yeah. I walk to the store. I do walk to the store. I am walking to the store. All those things tell you that it's happening right now. Okay. I walk to the store. You walk to the store. They walk to the store. She walked to the store. She walked to the store. He walked to the store. He walks to the store. We have walk and walks, go and goes, work and works. That's it. Okay, we say things like is working, are working. Those also tell you present tense. How do you give that idea of it's happening right now in Spanish? Okay, well, the first cue is an infinitive will not have the word to in front of it. I mean, it will mean that, but infinitives will fall into three categories, three. There are three general categories of infinitives in Spanish, and I'll put this up on a share screen for you. We're going to erase all this stuff here. Okay. They're equivalent to walk, to talk, to hear, to live is a verb that ends in an AR or an ER or an IR. Those are the three categories of infinitives in Spanish, okay? All infinitives, that means the base form, unchanged, in its original, pure, pristine form. An infinitive tells you nothing about who's doing something. It only tells you what the action is, okay? So classically, the words they use for these to show as examples are these three. But you know, there are a lot of things we could use. Hablar means to talk, to speak. Comer means to eat. Not to ir, to eat. And vivir means to live. Okay, so the equivalent of the TO part that we get rid of is this, the AR. The equivalent of the to in English is this part, the ER. The equivalent of the to in to live is the IR. That means if I need to get rid of this in English, I have to get rid of this in Spanish in order to use them. In order to use them, that's what I have to get rid of. I get rid of the AR, the ER, the IR when I actually use these verbs. Because now what I need to do is to tell who is doing an action. Who is doing it. The conjugation, meaning the little ending, I put on the end of the HABL, the COM, the BIB, the ending, the suffix, the combination of letters I use at the ends of these words is what is called the conjugation. All right, and why do we have conjugations in Spanish? We have them because the conjugation, the verb tells the whole story. It tells you what the action is. That's the first part. The habl of hablar, that tells you what the action actually is. But the conjugation at the end, the little letters I stick on the end, they tell you who's doing it and when they're doing it. So conjugations serve a purpose. Everything is the verb is the whole ball of wax. A typical 16-year-old will say, can't I just learn the words hablar and comer and vivir, and I just stick like a person in front of that. And I say, yo hablar, yo comer, yo vivir. And no, you can't do that because people will look at you like you walked off the planet Mars. It doesn't make any sense to them. In Spanish, the verb tells the whole story. So the reason they've got a whole bunch of forms is that the form tells you who's doing it and when they're doing it. You're learning the when of right now. Okay, the when you're learning is what we call present tense, the right now. Okay, And I'm going to show you the chart, although you've seen this chart, but I'm going to share this. And I was sending this out to you. Here you go. Oops, we're going to make this bigger. Like, nope. Nope. Okay, here we go. That's más fácil. That's easier to read. Okay, well, you already have these, right? Estoy, eres, es, somos, son, estoy, estás, está, estamos, están. And you had tener. You have not seen ir. Tengo, tienes, tiene, tenemos, tienen. Those are conjugations. They tell who's doing the action. We need to coordinate this human being of yo with that activity of the verb. Here are the endings for AR verbs. And you know, we may as well look at AR and ER together. I kind of don't like to do that. We'll gloss over the ER a little bit because we're going to do the ER more next week, but we'll look at them side by side because it'll start to make some sense. Here's the nice thing. The ending for a verb conjugation is for yo, no matter whether it's AR, ER, or IR. Yay.
Yay.
Yay. If it ends in O, it means I'm doing it. Yay. Okay. Fácil, easy. Notice the O here is not the same O as gender O. It is not the O that means masculine. It is a conjugation ending for a verb. Nouns, nouns and adjectives can be masculine, feminine. Verbs do not have gender. So when you hear an O on a verb, it does not mean masculine, feminine. It means yo. Okay. Verbs, unlike nouns, do not go masculine, feminine, ever. They do go singular and plural. Okay. An AR verb, we get rid of the AR, and here are the endings that we slap on where the AR used to be. O for yo. As for tú. Es incorrecto. How did that happen? A for él, ella, usted. Amos for nosotros. Ais for vosotros, that's only Spain, so you don't have to worry about it. An for ellos, ellas, ustedes. So this us at the end with the tú form does not mean plural. It means ese, us, a tú form. But notice what they have in common. You see a lot of that vowel, All these endings have an vowel in them because they are used with AR verbs. Yay. Okay. Here we go. You will notice conversely, ER and IR verbs won't have an vowel. They'll have mostly an a vowel. E. Okay. We'll look at ER and IR verbs more next week. We're going to focus on these ARs this week. But notice how there are these patterns that help you. And here's a pattern that really helps for yo. Yo ends in O, and all of its verbs are going to end in O. Well, not all, a lot of them. A lot of them. Notice yo for ser did not end in O. It's soy. Yo for estar did not end in O. It does have an O in it, but it did not end in O. But AR verbs, the yo ending O. And otherwise, it's going to follow that vowel feel of AR verbs. There will always be an sound in the verb ending. Okay? We're going to take a look. I would say go back and recheck this video this week again. We're going to take a look at some typical verbs that end in AR. AR is the biggest category. If I made a pie chart of all the verbs in Spanish, easily 65 to 70% of them would be AR verbs. So that's why we want to really focus just on AR today, because AR is the biggest category of verbs in Spanish. So if a verb falls into the category of regular, that means it's going to follow that chart rule. Okay? We're going to look at regular AR verbs happening right now. The action is happening right now. We call that present tense. We're going to take a look at something. Oh, hablar es to speak. So your job today is we're looking at what does the infinitive mean? What's the activity conveyed by that word? And then we'll change it. Okay, let's look at hablar. Hablar, to speak, to talk. Hablar. If I want to say I'm speaking,
Hablo.
I'm speaking, it's yo
Hablo.
hablo. If I
Yo
want to
hablo.
say tú, you are speaking to a friend.
Hablas.
Hablas. If I want to say he or she is speaking, one person is speaking, it's
Habla.
habla. Usted also uses the same form as
Habla.
one person, habla, right? Even though usted means you and tú means you, they don't use the same verb, okay? So usted uses the same form as, damn. Somebody trying to call me, let's ignore that. So él and ella, usted will share this same ending down here. It does not mean they're the same human being. They just share that same ending. Okay, a ver, let's go back to our pictures that are gonna help us. We are speaking is
Hablamos.
Hablo.
hablamos. They are speaking will be
Habla.
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 hablan, okay?
Habla.
Habla.
Viajar means
Travel.
to travel. Viajar means to travel. So I'm traveling will become
Viajar.
Yaho.
viajo.
Viajo.
Now, okay,
Viajo.
it's really
Viajo.
important to punch
Viajo.
the right syllable. Don't
Yeah.
punch the end. Don't punch viajo. Because
Yeah.
viajo is an honest to God verb, but it means something else. It's a different tense. It's a past, yeah, it's a thing it's a pitfall that we have. So it's via,
Via.
Viajo. Viajo.
viajo, for the yo, viajo,
Viajo.
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 viajo, I'm traveling. Tú
Viajo.
viajas,
Viajas.
viajas.
Viajo.
So I'm gonna model the verb. What I want you to try to do is don't try to guess it. Listen to me first so that you hear the intonation of which syllable gets the punch. Repitan, viajo,
Viajo.
Yaho.
viajas,
Viajas.
viaja,
Viaja.
viajamos,
Viajamos.
or we, viajan.
Viajar.
Viajan.
They are traveling, okay? Yeah, I want you to hear where my emphasis is, okay? We're gonna look at, caminar. Caminar means to do what?
Walk.
Walk.
To walk, okay? There are actually two verbs that mean to walk. One is andar, one is caminar. They're both regular and present. So here we go. Caminar. Yo camino. Repitan, camino.
Camino.
Bien. Tú caminas.
Caminas.
Camina.
Caminas.
Caminas, okay? Él or ella or usted camina.
Camina.
Bien, okay? Vale. Nosotros caminamos.
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 And
Nosotros
here,
caminamos.
instead of camino, caminas, camina, it's caminamos.
Caminamos.
The
Caminamos.
punch comes on the amos, okay?
Vamos.
Vamos.
Caminamos.
And then we've got ellos or ellas or ustedes caminan.
Caminar.
Caminan.
Magnífico, okay? A ver, we're going through some things that are very common, regular AR verbs. Escuchar, to listen to. To listen to. And the two, the second two is kind of built in. Escuchar, to listen to. I listen to becomes escucho.
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 Tú becomes escuchas.
Escuchas.
Yeah. Él or ella or usted becomes escucha.
Escucha.
Okay. Nosotros, we becomes escuchamos.
Escuchamos.
Okay. These punch shifts to a different syllable. Ellos or ellas or ustedes becomes escuchan.
Escuchan.
Escuchan. Okay.
Escuchen.
I'm going to stop here for a quick minute. Every time I use this, I am using right now the yo, the tú, the él, ella, usted, the nosotros. Normally, in normal conversation, people will skip most of the words yo, tú, nosotros, because the verb form tells you immediately who's doing it. I don't need yo, tú, nosotros. I might need that él, ella, usted, ellos, ellas, ustedes. I might need that because habla or viaja or camina or escucha. If I use that by itself, it could be a guy, a gal, usted. I might need to be specific and name that person. And the same thing for ellos or ellas or ustedes, because it could be several different groups of people, right? But hablo can only be one person. Hablas can only be one person. And hablamos can only be one category of, people. Oh, entienden? Understand what I'm saying with that?
Sí.
The verb tells the whole story. So in all likelihood, people will, most of the time, will not include yo, tú, or nosotros. They won't, because the verb tells everything. Okay? Bien. Let's take a look at comprar. Comprar, to buy. To buy. Okay? Repitan. Yo compro.
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 Tú compras.
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 Bien. Él or ella or usted compra.
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 Okay? Nosotros compramos.
Compramos.
Ramos.
Bien, okay? And ellos or ellas or ustedes compran.
Compran.
Okay. You'll notice the only time we really shift that stress is in the nosotros form. Then it goes into the a of the amos part. But otherwise it's on the syllable before. Okay, llegar. Llegar, to arrive. And you heard that a lot in that chapter that talked about como llego how do I get to, right? Llegar means to arrive, but we use it as get to a place. If somebody asks a question, como llego how do I get to? Because in English, we wouldn't say, how do I arrive at? Oh, maybe in a math problem, how do I arrive at that solution? Yes, but otherwise you don't hear how do I arrive at, because we don't use that, right? We do ask the question, how do I get to the embassy? How do I get to the airport? Okay, so llegar, we colloquially use get to quite often, even though it means to arrive. Okay, llegar, llegar. Yo llego.
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 Tú llegas.
Llegas.
Él or ella or usted llega.
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 Here we come to the shift in stress. Nosotros llegamos.
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 Okay. Ellos or ellas or ustedes llegan.
Llegan.
Llega.
Bien. Okay. Fantástico. Usar, qué fácil. Yay! Our first cognate. To use. Okay. Yo uso.
Uso.
Uso. Tú usas.
Usas.
Él or ella or usted usa.
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 Bien. Nosotros usamos.
Usamos.
Ellos, ellas, ustedes usan.
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 Muy fácil, really easy. It's a 2-syllable word, so not too tough. Okay, bailar, 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 to
Dance.
dance, to dance, okay? Repitan, por favor. Yo bailo,
Bailo.
Bailo.
okay? Tú bailas,
Baila.
Baila.
bien. Él o ella o usted baila,
Baila.
Baila.
magnífico.
Baila.
Nosotros bailamos,
Bailamos.
perfecto. Y ellos, ellas, ustedes bailan,
Baila.
Baila.
okay? Not that I think you really need the dance thing, but it's a common verb and, well, a recreational verb. People on vacation go places where they go dancing, right? No bail, no bail. My 15-year-old girls, bailamos. No, bailamos, bailamos. Ahí, bye. Okay, bye, bailamos. Okay. Oh, muy importante. Here's a survival word, pagar. Pagar means to pay,
Pagar.
to pay. Okay, yo pago.
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 Okay, tú pagas.
Paga.
Él o ella o usted paga.
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 Bien. Nosotros pagamos.
Pagamos.
Bien. Ellos o ellas o ustedes pagan.
Pagan.
Perfecto. Ok. Vale. Preguntas. Questions so far?
No.
You getting the pattern?
Sí.
Okay. We're going to go through a couple others here. And instead of me saying these, we'll see if you can see. Here is a survival word. Ayudar es muy importante. Ayudar, to help. To help. If you need to yell, help me, you better know this word.
Ayudo.
Yeah, sí. Ayuda. Ayuda
Ayuda.
is help. Ayuda. Okay. ¿Cómo se dice I am helping?
Ayuda. Ayudo.
Ayudo. Right. We punch the U sound. Ayudo. ¿Cómo se dice you are helping? Tú.
Ayudas.
Ayudas. ¿Cómo se
Ayuda.
dice one person is helping or usted is helping?
Ayuda.
Ayuda.
Ayuda. ¿Cómo se dice we are helping?
Ayudan.
Ayudamos.
Ayudamos. ¿Cómo se dice they are helping or ustedes, you guys are helping?
Ayudan.
Ayudan.
Ayudan. Okay.
Ayuda.
Oh, what if I want to say, it doesn't help me? No, you don't really know the me part. It doesn't help. It doesn't help. If I want to make it negative, I just put a no in front of it. And if I want to say it doesn't help, no ayuda. No ayuda.
Ayuda.
No,
Right.
ayuda.
And the it would never be translated. We just translate it, you know, with the verb, ayuda. Ayuda or no ayuda. It doesn't help.
No ayuda.
Okay, bien. Okay, estudiar. Estudiar, a little bit tricky. You got to remember, this is going to end in an E sound when we take off that AR. And that E sound stays where it is when I tag on the O or the as or the a or the amos or the an. So estudi. I got to have that E sound at the end. That does not get cut off with the AR. That E sound at the end stays. So, ¿cómo se dice I am studying?
Estudio.
Estudio. The tú form.
Estudias.
Estudias. Bien. He's studying or she's studying.
Estudia.
Estudia. Okay. We are studying.
Estudiamos.
Estudiamos. And
Estudiamos.
they are studying or you guys are studying.
Estudiam.
Estudian. Bien. Okay. Necesitar. Here is a cognate. Necesitar, to need. And by the way, there are other ways to say need, but this is the easy way because it's a cognate and the other ones are not cognates that you would recognize. So here's an easy word that you can recognize quickly and understand quickly. Necesitar. And I'm going to start this one because it's a long verb. This has got multiple syllable. Necesita. Or I'm sorry, perdón, yo. Necesito.
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 Necesitas.
Necesitas.
Necesita.
Necesita.
Okay. Necesitamos.
Necesitamos.
And necesitan.
Necesitan.
Okay, bien. And I have specifically chosen words that are more commonly used in conversation. These are common AR verbs that follow a pattern. You don't have to worry as there's some irregular thing thrown in. Okay, trabajar, to work. By the way, you cannot use this to talk about a device working.
Oh.
This is for people working. Actually, that's a good point. I'll give you that verb in a bit. To talk about things, it's not trabajar. It is a different word altogether. Okay, so this is for people working here. Like you want to ask a guy, do you work here? Because you've got to find something and you need help, right? So this is that kind of work. People working. Trabajar. We're going to get rid of the AR. ¿Cómo se dice I'm working or I work?
Trabajo.
Trabajo.
Trabajo. Trabajo.
Trabajo.
You work for a friend.
Trabajas.
Trabajas. Trabajas. Okay?
Trabaja.
He's working or she's working or usted working.
Trabaja.
Trabaja.
Trabaja. Okay? Bien. We are working.
Trabajamos.
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 Trabajamos. What a long word. Trabajamos. Trabajamos. Okay? Ellos or ellas or ustedes, they are working or you guys are working.
Trabajan.
Trabajan. Trabajan.
Trabajan.
Trabajan.
Trabajan.
We punch the ba. Trabajan. Okay.
Marilyn, I'm just never going to say we.
You said
never-
say
I'll
we.
just never say we do anything.
Trabajamos. Well, to give you an idea, there's a past tense. If you want to say we used to work, it's trabajábamos.
Oh,
And the kids, 16-year-olds love that. Abba, 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 abba. You know, they sit there and just abba, abba, abba away. Trabajábamos, yeah. Trabajamos. Okay, so here's the thing. You know, you need help in a store, right? The verb will come up first. If you want to say, do you work here? ¿Trabaja usted aquí? ¿Trabaja usted aquí? ¿Trabaja usted aquí? Yeah, okay. Or you want to say, we don't work because we're retired. No trabajamos. No trabajamos. No trabajamos. Okay. Let me, we'll come back to the work for a device in a bit, because actually that is a good verb for you to know. Okay, we're going to take one look at this last one you see here. Esperar, to wait for. To wait for, because someone may ask, are you waiting for the tour? Are you waiting for the building to open? Where do I wait for the bus? Yeah, to wait for. Esperar actually has two definitions. Esperar means to wait for, and the for is built into the verb. You don't need a special word for. It's all attached into that idea. It can also mean to hope. Because when you hope for something, you're waiting for it to happen. Yeah, okay. But you probably, as a tourist, will not need it in the concept of its idea of to hope. You may very well need it in that idea of wait for, because you may want to ask do I wait for the train here? Yeah. Okay. Or how many minutes do I wait till the train comes? Things like that. So esperar is actually for tourists a super helpful verb. We take off the AR, it becomes yo
Espero.
espero. It becomes tú
Espera.
esperas. It becomes él or ella or usted
Espera.
espera. It becomes nosotros
Esperamos.
esperamos. It becomes ellos or ellas or ustedes
Esperan.
esperan. Okay, yeah.
Yeah.
So there we go. And there's our end. I am going to send this page to you. I am trying to decide how I can use it. Let me ask you this question. This will help me decide. If you were to get this file and print only this page, let me see how far, yes, and print only this page and fold it in half, is that something you could do?
See,
Yes.
I ask this because because it's a visual thing. Now, I know it sounds like a dumb question, but it isn't actually. It is a visual thing. Could I ask you all, when you get this file through the email, to print just the last page? And don't print all the pictures on the top part of it. See? Okay.
Sí.
What we're going to try to do, I've been trying to think of a way to do this. When we do this in person, I have people take this sheet of paper. I kid you not, it is the simplest thing since sliced bread. Fold it down the middle, and you only look at one side of it. Now, it's easy to do when I do that in person with people. But if I got to do that with you on Zoom, it becomes a little more visually challenging for me to do. So we'll see if we can make that happen. See if I can like block something. So essentially, wow, let me do that. I'll try to think of a visual way to do this with my word processor. Essentially what happens is that people bounce back and forth and quiz each other. So the A person says, oh, I've got to conjugate this verb for tú. What's the right form for tú? Your partner sees it. You don't.
Hablas. Hablas.
Yeah, hablas, yeah. See if you can do that. I'm going to try to find a logical way to do it that's easier, non-Zoom. Para que sepan, just so you know. Okay, we're going to come back to this idea of work because this is actually a useful verb for you guys to know. Okay, what if you want to talk? Pueden ver, can you see this? Sí o no? Sí?
Sí.
Okay. If you want to talk about a device working, let's say you put your card into, nowadays there are a lot of situations when traveling, you have to do things via machine. You buy your subway ticket by a machine, you used to buy it through, you may still buy it with an actual person in a booth. But there are a lot of situations where you may just step up to a machine and, put your card in and try to buy your train or subway ticket in a vending machine. And sometimes, does that work all the time? No, it does not always work. So if you run into a situation where a thing, a machine, a device does not work, here is the verb for that. And it's going to make sense when you see that.
funcionar.
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 Funcionar, to work, as in a gadget, a machine, a car. Okay, anything that is mechanical or electronic, you would never use trabajar to say it works or it doesn't work. Okay, let's think about this logically. Oh, it looks like the word
Function.
Function. Yes, so not hard to
Funcionar.
remember. Think of function, but we don't pronounce it función. It's función. Funcionar, right? Funcionar. Funcionar. So the pronunciation is different, but it looks like an English word. Okay. Here's the nice thing about this. We do not conjugate this for yo because I am not a machine. We don't conjugate this for nosotros because we are not machines. And we don't conjugate it for tú. So you're only going to hear this conjugated two ways. It's talking about one
Funcionar.
gadget, right? Funciona or funcionan. You're only going to hear it conjugated two ways because it doesn't talk about a human being, right? So it's funciona or funcionan. And what you're really going to need to say, because this is when you're going to need to use it, is when something doesn't work. So here's your mini lesson on how to say that something is not happening. And it's very, very easy. To say that something is not happening, you just put a no in front of it. No funciona, no funcionan.
No funciona.
Yay, qué fácil, how easy. In Spanish, and this is an across the board rule, to say that something is not happening or does not happen, we just put a no in front of the verb, but it must be in front of the word. We say, I do not talk or I'm not talking. Well, okay, our word no will just be in front of the verb. Entonces, por ejemplo, no hablo italiano, no hablo portugués. So if you want to say, I don't speak, no hablo mucho español. I don't speak much Spanish, right? No hablo mucho español. That all works. Bien? Vale?
Vale.
Okay. I want to stop here and ask if you've got any questions so far. Sí or no? No. Okay, bien. So now, thinking in that grid pattern super helps. There are people who don't like that, but again, they are people who want you to learn gradually after 50 repetitions 24/7, and you don't have that luxury. What I will do is show you some websites where you can go to actually practice this. Ooh, ¿a dónde fue? ¿A dónde fue? Okay. Ooh. This is a new website, so I'm hoping I can make this work. Ooh, quizás no, I'm going to have to rethink that one. Now, as I'm bringing it up again, it is not going the way I want it to. Okay. A ver. There are some sites. Okay, I'll kind of show you what this looks like because I'll be sending you this link. I'll send you a link like this. And this is very British, you can tell, because they use the word mum instead of mom. It'll look like this. They're going to put a verb in parentheses. You're going to look at who's doing the action. And if that who is a onesie human being and you're not talking to them directly saying you're talking about them, you'll conjugate it one way, right? So you're going to look at who's doing the action, like Miguel. And then you're going to look at this verb and figure out how do I convey the idea of that Miguel dances salsa, okay? And this is helpful because it gives you the translation, so you know what you're saying, okay? My mom's buying a present. We swim at the beach, right? I walk to school. Nacho plays guitar. Nacho, by the way, is not the thing you eat. Nacho is a nickname for Ignacio. Ignacio, the nickname for Ignacio is Nacho. How that got to be in English snack, I have no idea. Ellas tú and all that. So I will give you that to go out and practice during the week. Okay, vale? And we're gonna play around a little bit with actually using these verbs in a more active way next week. We're gonna preview the idea of what it means to use Ir verbs now, if that's okay. Because I want you to go back into that same, is it in the same chapter? Is it in the next, ooh, I gotta, yes, it is. It is in the latter half of chapter 7. So make sure you go through all of chapter 7. We're going to take a look at a preview of Ir verbs. And actually, this video does a super great job of it. So I will send you this video as well to take a look at, because he breaks it down like he did for the Ar verbs. The nice thing about Ir and Ir verbs is that they're going to share a lot of things, okay? But I would say, listen to his video, and I'll send out the link for it. He does it in a great adult explanation. There are some other more teenage explanations, which teenagers have more fun with. But I'll send you his explanation. We're going to go back to, if we've got these 3 categories of verbs, then what do we need to know about the other 2 categories we didn't practice yet today? What we need to know is that the other 2 categories are ERs and IRs. They're still probably somewhere between about together 35–40% of the verbs in Spanish. So, you know, it's not an insignificant chunk. ER is a small, ER is a larger category than IR. Okay. That just tells you about frequency of use. So the nice thing to take a look at here is that ER and IRs are going to share forms most of the time. Where they do not share forms is here in the Nosotros form and the Vosotros form. And as you know, people in Latin America don't use Vosotros. So you only got to worry about one thing that's going to differentiate itself, that is going to diverge from the pattern. And that's going to be the Nosotros form, okay? So just like AR verbs have lots of sounds, ER and IR verbs are going to share a lot of sounds. Oh, they're going to diverge for nosotros if it's an IR verb. So ER and IR verbs are not going to take their cue from the E sound of IR. They're going to take the cue from the E sound of the ER, okay? So yo, still O, hooray, right? Tu form will get an S, not as, but S ending. El, a, usted will just go with the vowel by itself, not a, but e. Nosotros for ER verbs will be hemos for the ending. For IR verbs, it'll go off and do its own thing. Hemos, hemos. It will take the E sound from the IR. Okay? And, you know, es for vosotros, is for vosotros, but you don't really need to know that because Latin America, they don't bother with that anyway. And then instead of an, like you have with AR verbs, en. Okay? En. So, okay, vale. Here we go. ER and IR verbs. We will take a look at some typical verbs that will do that with the time we've got left. So that you'll know, aquí, okay. Let's look at our verb comer. Comer, comer, to eat. Comer, comer. Como, right? Let's kind of make a space down here. Let's clear all that stuff out. Let's just look at ER verbs. We're going to take a batch of ER verbs here. Ooh. Oops. Yeah. Have it. Let's start with these two. Comer. Como.
Como.
Como. Okay. Tú comes.
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 Él come.
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 Ok, vale, magnífico.
Comemos.
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 Well, this one you don't need to know. Coméis, because they won't use it.
Comen.
Comen. Muy bien.
Comen.
Okay. Beber means to drink. So, cuidado, careful. It does mean to drink. It is sometimes used just in the context of alcohol, but not always. You know, you can use this with agua, certainly. Bebo.
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 Okay. Tú
Bebes.
bebes. Mi amigo, mi amiga, bebe.
Bebe.
And notice it's not bebe. It's not the Schitt's Creek of bebe. It's there is a word bebe. There is a word bebe, and it does mean baby, but this is bebe, right?
Bebe.
Okay.
Bebe.
Bebemos, bebemos, bien. Bebéis. Perdón, I got a little
Beben.
Y beben. Sí, perfecto.
Beben.
Okay. Fantastico. Okay. Let's take a look at an IR verb so we get an idea of what that looks like. Vivir is often used. It means to live. You know, you've seen the old Western movies with the groups of bandidos. It's the wonderful stereotype movie, and you know, Viva Zapata. Yeah, okay, yeah. Viva is a cheer. It means long live. Okay. Viva el Papa, long live the Pope. You know, Viva el Rey, long live the King. All right, but to say that I live in a place, you want to tell people you live in the United States. I live. Vivo. Vivo en Estados Unidos. Tú
Vives.
vives. Mi amigo
Vive.
vive. Now here's the one point where it's going to
Vivimos.
diverge, right? It's going to go into vivimos. Vivimos. Okay, I kind of lied. For vosotros, if you were going to Barcelona, it would do that. Vivís. Vivís, yeah, vivís. And viven. Viven. Okay, so what he's going to talk about when you look at the video is that he actually, I can't, can I draw? I guess technically I can draw. And oh no, it won't let me draw within this. Technically, if I were to draw, it won't let me at all. I could draw a little boot around the yo, the tú, the él, ella, usted, and the ellos, ellas, ustedes. And these 4, 1, 2, 3, straight down the line and straight over here form what they call a shoe or a boot. He will show you visually what that means. And you will see that everything outside of the boot for an IR verb does something different from the ER verbs. So he's going to show you that. And again, it's a mental pattern because most of us are visual learners that will help you to get that kind of, stoked in your brain and imprinted on your brain. Okay, vale? When we come, I'm going to give you two video. I'm going to ask you to review that AR video again, to just kind of, again, stamp it in your brain, and to watch his video on the IR verbs, and make sure you go through all of that chapter 7 for our last class. We're going to do a lot of practice And I'm going to send you off into smaller groups to do some of this practice. That'll be the culmination. And this will be kind of dipping your toe into that big, not even a lake or a pond, but the ocean of, what we call verbs. We'll practice how to use them to talk about who's doing an activity and kind of work on. I will also send you a little homework thing that will be like super easy, short sentences that I want you to, I'll give them to you in English. Normally, I don't like to do a lot of English translation, but there'll be simple ideas in English that I want you to be able to say in Spanish. And you're going to have to conjugate a verb to say them. Things like, do I wait here? Yeah.
No.
Where do I pay? You need to know stuff like that. Yeah. So I'm going to send some of that out as little things for you to work on and see if you can come back with those ideas of, can I say these ideas? And you're going to have to conjugate a verb to say those ideas. Está bien? But I'm not going to give you like 50 of them, because that would be like scary. Yeah. Like maybe 10 and yes, about 10. Okay. Está bien? Are we good with that?
Sí.
Bien, magnifico. Okay. You'll do lots of practice with verbs, so really focus on that and get to know. The first hurdle is know what that infinitive with the AR, with the ER, with the IR means, because you're already starting to see the patterns pretty well. Okay, ¿vale? Bien. ¿Tienen preguntas antes de salir? Do you have any questions before we leave? Nada, bien. Okay, tenemos una clase más. We have one more class before the end of the session. So you see why I was trying to kind of hustle through those examples. We've got one more lesson where we're going to hit on verbs pretty hard. We're actually going to introduce one other verb, which is a survival verb, which is the verb ir. I'll send you to go. To go is also an irregular verb, but this chart, and I'll just show you real quickly here. This chart that you saw today, right at the bottom, has the ir. And I'll probably put that in a different color so that when you look at it, you won't just glide past it and say, I've seen this before and I get it all. You're going to look also at the form of the verb ir, because nobody should leave the Spanish class without knowing how to say, I'm going. You need to know that verb, but it's going to look a lot like the verbs that you used with
Ser.
it's going to look kind of like the ser and estar, and yeah, it's going to have some similarities. So you'll also see that. ¿Está bien? Are we good?
Sí.
Okay, magnífico. Vamos a practicar muchísimo la semana que viene. Next week, we'll do lots of practicing in the big group and then in smaller groups as well. ¿Está bien?
Está bien.
Bueno, vamos. Ok, entonces, que tengan que tengan una semana magnífica. Have a really great week. I have to leave for my vaccine, so nos vemos. Nos vemos el martes, ¿no?
Adiós.
Bien.
Adiós.
Hasta luego. Hasta martes, ¿no?
Martes, sí.